Hello everyone, welcome to the daily editorial analysis brought to you by Shankar IAS Academy, 16th December 2024. Displayed here are the list of articles that we will be discussing today. The first article, India's firmer attempts at mineral diplomacy. The article is taken from today's Hindu newspaper. This article is talking about the importance of critical minerals and the challenges associated with accessing the critical minerals and the certain initiatives that we have taken domestically and through diplomacy to access critical minerals. And the next article, Unequal Relief. The article is taken from the newspaper Indian Express. The article is talking about the persisting food inflation and regional disparities within India. So without much delay, let's get into the discussion. India's firmer attempts at mineral diplomacy. Before getting into the discussion, let me ask you a question. What is the main character of a best state? The answer is actually relative, because in different point of time, we can see that man has went through different political system, right? In the beginning, he was a part of a band where his basic need was only food and shelter. But security later became an issue, so he entered into an agreement and joined the national states, right? And later time passed on, and which state which makes more profit or economic opportunities will be providing, that state was considered as the best state. For example, the Great Britain and the United States. And in the recent past, that is in the 20th century, the concept again evolved. Which state will provide you security, social welfare, and economic opportunity was considered as a best state. The examples are USA, the then USSR, and Britain. And again, time evolved. Now, the nation states got more responsibility. They have to ensure the development, but not just development. They have to ensure sustainable development, and they also have to ensure the security, because the challenges also evolved along with the changes. And there comes the importance of mineral diplomacy and the importance of critical minerals. What is meant by critical minerals? Critical minerals refers to metallic and non-metallic minerals which are essential for economic development and national security. Some of the examples of this critical minerals are lithium, cobalt, rare earth minerals, graphite, nickel, tungsten, etc. So lithium, which plays an important role in electric vehicles. Cobalt, which has wider scope than lithium. For example, it is used in medical sector and it is also used in security. For example, it is used to manufacture certain parts of fighter jets. At the same time, it is also used in the medical field to build prosthetic arms and other body parts. At the same time, it is also used in other technologies such as pacemakers. However, the major problem associated with this critical minerals is the accessibility or sustainable accessibility to this critical minerals, because it is rare. At the same time, accessing to this critical minerals has a lot of political and economic implications. Accessing this critical minerals has a lot of political and economic limitations. For example, if you take the tungsten is known for its resistivity. Therefore, it is used in national security. At the same time, it is also used in electric bulb, right? But 80% of this tungsten supply is currently under the nation called China. And the concentration of this critical mineral is another major reason. For example, Australia is producing, they are known as the second largest producer of cobalt. And we have concluded a critical mineral agreement with Australia in the year 2023. So the limited availability, ensuring sustainable accessibility to those critical minerals, at the same time, other political issues such as the monopoly of different nations are becoming a challenge for nations like India to ensure accessibility to critical minerals. And coming to the declaration of this critical minerals, in different nations, they have different criteria to consider a mineral as critical mineral. And that is based on technology, market, and geopolitical factors. But in India, we have currently recognized 30 minerals as critical minerals, whereas in USA, they have recognized 50 minerals, and in Japan, they have recognized 31 minerals. And coming to the application of this critical minerals, it plays an important role in the energy transition to the sustainable energy. For example, lithium, cobalt, nickel, graphite, they are used in electric vehicles and energy storage and electronic items. And rare earth minerals like neodymium and dysprosium, they are used in wind turbine, magnets, and electric motors. And then communication and electronics, like I mentioned, tantalum, it is used in capacitors of smartphones and laptops. And other minerals like gallium and indium, which is used in semiconductors, solar panels, and LEDs. These are very important to ensure, to ensure the domination of a state in the present geopolitics of this 21st century. Because few days back there was an article from Indian Express which was talking about the importance of development in the field of artificial intelligence, semiconductors, quantum computing, and at the same time green technology. How these technologies plays an important role in ensuring domination of a state in this 21st century. Coming to the semiconductors, it plays an important role from research to national security to daily life. And you might have heard about this Fab Alliance. It's an alliance of 4 nations to ensure accessibility and development in the field of semiconductors. So go through this Fab Alliance if you have time. It is a potential question for UPSC prelims. And then defense and aerospace, rare earth minerals, and tungsten. So tungsten, it is known for its resistivity, like I mentioned in the beginning. Therefore, it is used in wide applications. For example, it is used from electric bulb to making ammunitions, engine jets, and radars. And while titanium, it is also used in aircraft and spacecraft. Particularly, tungsten is very important. And healthcare, platinum and rare earth minerals, for example, they are used in medical devices, like I mentioned in the beginning, pacemakers and imaging. So pacemakers, the cobalt is also used for medical purpose. And then helium, it is used for MRI cooling, and at the same time sustainable infrastructure. This is another major application of critical minerals. Copper and zinc, it is used for green buildings, and also plays an important role in renewable energy. A thin sheet of graphite is 10 times stronger than steel. Therefore, we can't even predict the scope and application of this wonderful mineral in the upcoming time. And currently, it plays an important role in advanced construction materials, and at the same time, it can be used in the future for resisting the heat and heat related other issues. For example, one of the major impact of the heat will be cardiovascular diseases and death, right? So we can use this graphite. It can change the future. And now we are going to see the challenges in securing critical minerals. First major challenge is limited domestic reserve. Even though we have recently discovered the lithium reserve in Jammu and Kashmir, it is not sufficient to meet the demand of a large nation like India. And at the same time, we also lack reserves of other critical minerals like cobalt and rare earth minerals. And then geopolitical dependencies. Like I mentioned in the beginning, 80% of the tungsten supply is currently regulated by China. At the same time, Australia is the second largest producer of cobalt. And you have to know that they also have concluded agreements with the different nations in Africa, where Africa, we know the importance of Africa, right? It is a source for various minerals from lithium, cobalt, tungsten, etc. And these nations already established their monopoly in such areas. And the next is the competition from global powers, like competition from United States, European Union, and the presence of China in Africa and South America. Just like I mentioned, they already established a monopoly over the mines in these areas. And then technological and infrastructure gap. Even if you find the lithium reserve in a particular region, extracting the lithium from the clay is the biggest challenge for India at present time. And that is one of the major reasons that's why the investors are hesitating to invest in the lithium based technology. And the next is the environmental and social concerns. So recently also in the news you can see the people of Tamil Nadu, particularly the people from Shivagangai and Madurai, they are protesting against the government regarding the tungsten mining. The major concerns raised by the people are the disruption of agricultural activities, pollution, and the displacement of people. So it is raising both environmental and social concerns. So mining of these minerals raises both of these problems. And like I mentioned, it can lead to community opposition, environmental risk. For example, for mining, definitely you have to go through deforestation. Deforestation will remove the vegetation, therefore soil erosion will happen, eventually soil degradation will happen. The region will experience, if it is a sensitive region, it can even experience incidents like that we experienced recently in Wayanad. And then groundwater contamination. And the next major challenge is inadequate recycling ecosystem. Now we are talking about a concept called circular economy, right? But still we are lacking to achieve this circular economy due to various limitations that ranges from economic investment, lack of technology. Coming to the certain domestic initiatives taken by the government of India to ensure the critical minerals, the first is amendment to the Mines and Minerals Act that was done in the year 2023. So through this amendment, now we are allowing the private players to explore the opportunities in the mine sector and mineral sector, and they will be playing an important role in exploring and extraction of the minerals. And then recycling of the minerals, that is focusing on recycling from electronics and batteries. This is a part of the idea of circular economy. And then we have also taken efforts to ensure overseas asset, for example KABIL, that is Khanij Bidesh India Limited. So it's a public enterprise. Actually, it is a combination of three different public enterprises. That is Aluminium Company of India, and that is National Aluminium Company, Hindustan Copper Limited, and also Mineral Exploration and Consultancy Limited. So these three public enterprises, they joined together and formed this Khanij Bidesh India. So this board is responsible to acquire, the critical minerals in the different countries. And recently we made a significant progress. That is, we got access to the lithium mine in Argentina. And coming to the certain diplomatic steps that India had taken to ensure critical minerals, the first is we have signed the memorandum of understanding with the different African nations. For example, we have signed this agreement with South Africa, Zambia, and Zimbabwe, and Mozambique. And we know that lithium, cobalt, and rare earth minerals, Africa is a source for all these minerals. And then we have signed mineral agreement with Australia in the year 2023, and this agreement is particularly focusing on access to lithium and cobalt, because Australia is the second largest producer of cobalt, and we know that it is essential for our transition to sustainable economy and green development. And we have also committed to net zero 70. So we can add this while writing the mains answer. And then in South America, we got opportunity to explore the lithium mine in Argentina, and currently we are discussing with Chile and Bolivia. And if you note all these places, Africa, Australia, and South America, we can see a connection, right? All three lands, they belongs to one major land, that is Gondwana. And a few years back, there was a question in the UPSC mains that India was a part of Gondwana land, but still we are, we cannot produce enough coal. So there was a question related to this background. So go through that question too. In this topic, we discussed the importance of critical minerals, what is meant by a critical mineral, its different applications, and its importance. So based on our understanding, try to answer this mains practice question. The question is, critical minerals are vital for India's energy transition and economic security, but their supply chain faces significant challenges. Discuss. In the first part, you have to talk about the role of critical minerals in ensuring in ensuring economic security and its role in energy transition. So we already mentioned in the beginning, lithium, cobalt, graphite, these plays an important role in our transition to green energy and economic security. For example, according to the estimation of Down to Earth, they are saying that by 2030, the EV industry, that is electric vehicle industry, will provide 5 million direct job and 30 million indirect job. So through this transition, through this green transition, we can also ensure economic security. And other than that, if we have access to critical energy, we will be also having a dominance in international arena among different nations, because we know that China, they are controlling 80% of supply of the tungsten, and they also have a monopoly over mines in different countries, especially in Africa. So these are the things you have to address in the first part. And the second part you have to talk about the challenges related to the access of critical minerals. That is what simply means supply chain challenges. So here you can talk about various issues, such as you can talk about the domination of different nations. Like I mentioned, Australia is the second largest producer, and China, they have monopoly. And both these nations, like USA, Japan, China, Australia, all these nations have monopoly over different mines in different places of the world. And the manufacturing capacity of India and challenges associated with extracting and separating the mineral. And these are the things you have to talk in the second part. So try to answer the mains practice question based on your understanding and the inputs that you received from this video. And now it's time to move to the next topic. Unequal relief. We know that economic stability of a nation is very important to ensure the social development, economic growth, and harmony. If a government fails to manage the economy, then the net result can be chaotic. The best example that we have in the history is the Germany. the rise of Nazism. One of the reasons behind the rise of Nazism was the hyperinflation that the people of Germany experienced during the time of Great Depression, and it was one of the reasons for the Second World War too. And in the recent time also, we saw the people of Sri Lanka revolted against their own government. The reason was inflation and economic mismanagement. So inflation has that much potential. It can even turn the society or the nation upside down. In this context, we have a news article from the Indian Express which is talking about the persisting food inflation in India and the regional disparities. According to the Consumer Food Price Index, currently India has a food inflation of 9.04%, and the rural area is experiencing more food inflation than the urban area. And even we can see disparities among the states. For example, Delhi, they are experiencing only 2.7% inflation, while states like UP and Haryana, they are experiencing 6 to 7% of food inflation. So without much delay, let's get into the discussion. So what is inflation? We have discussed this many times. Inflation refers to a constant rise in the general price level, and this constant rise in the general price level can eventually erode the purchasing power capacity of the consumer. And if the inflation is moderate, then it is okay, but it is crossing a limit, then it can lead to many issues, many political, social, and economic issues, just like I mentioned in the beginning. Coming to the types of inflation, first is demand pull inflation. That is the inflation that happens due to excessive demand. For example, people are receiving more income, then they will go for more purchasing. If there is excessive demand for that particular commodity, then the price will automatically go up. And the second type of inflation is the cost push inflation. We know the factors of production, right? Land, labor, capital, organization. If there is any increase in any of these factors of production, or if there is any decline in the factors of production, then it can ultimately affect the price. Therefore, the rising production cost will lead to this cost push inflation. For example, increase in the crude oil price can lead to the hike in the transportation cost. And the next we have the core inflation. Core inflation refers to inflation excluding volatile items like food and fuel. And this core inflation is studied by many nations to frame long-term policy. And then we have imported inflation. This happens when the price of the imported commodities goes up. For example, imagine that the crude oil price is getting higher. Then eventually the products which uses this crude oil as raw material, for example, ointments like Vaseline or other dermatological ointments, then the price of such commodities will also go up. And then we have stagflation. Stagflation refers to a condition where both the economy is stagnant with high unemployment. And there is also another term called shrinkflation. Shrinkflation refers to a condition where the commodities quantity will be same or reducing, but the price of that particular commodity will be going higher. Coming to the current inflationary trend in India, at present the inflation is standing at 5.5%. It is almost normal, and it is less than comparing with the October, where the October recorded 6.2% of inflation. What are the core issues that we are facing related to inflation? The first major issue is the high food inflation that I mentioned, 9.04% according to the Consumer Food Price Index. Especially, vegetable prices, they are going higher, and uneven impact across the urban and rural area. For example, the rural area, they are experiencing almost 9.10% food inflation, while the urban area is experiencing only 8.04% food inflation. And the regional variations between the states. For example, states like Delhi, they're only experiencing 2.7%, while Haryana and UP, they are experiencing almost 6.7% of food inflation. And coming to the certain physical instruments that we are using to control the inflation, the first is CRR, that is the cash reserve ratio. So CRR, according to the CRR, a particular fund of the bank has to be kept with the RBI. For example, imagine that a bank has a total fund of 100 rupees. Then the bank has to keep around 20 rupees with the RBI. So how this will control the inflation? During the time of inflation, this RBI will raise the rate CRR from 20 to 40. So the remaining amount, the bank will be having only 60 rupees. So they can lend only for the 60 rupees. So this is one of the instruments that we are currently using to ensure the economic stability. And then the SLR, that is statutory liquid ratio. So a particular fund of the bank has to be kept in the form of gold and other asset. This is also done to restrict lending. For example, if a bank has 100 rupees again, then they have to keep that around 50 rupees or 40 rupees in the form of asset. They have to invest that in gold or land. So this will also reduce the liquidity, because we know that cash is the most liquid asset in the economy. So once you invest that cash in land or other asset, then the liquidity will reduce. Then we have the repo rate. According to this, repo rate refers to the rate at which the RBI lends loan to bank. For example, if RBI is lending a loan to bank with an interest of 4%, then the bank can give a loan around 5%. For example, imagine that the RBI suddenly raised this interest rate to 8%. Then the bank has to loan from their bank at least 9%. If the interest on loan is going higher, that means there will be less demand for the loan. So we are preventing the money supply to the economy. And then we have reverse repo rate. Reverse repo rate refers to the rate at which the commercial bank lends to RBI. For example, if a commercial bank, they are providing a loan at an interest rate of 4%, and suddenly RBI says that we are ready to give 6% of interest, then the creditor, that is the bank, will provide more loan to RBI. So here also money supply can be reduced. So this is how the instruments working. First, once again I will explain. CRR refers to the particular portion of fund that the commercial bank has to keep with the RBI. So if the CRR is increased, then the money supply will reduce. If CRR is decreased, then the money supply will go up. Then the money supply will increase. And the same in the case of SLR. If the SLR is increasing, that means the money supply is reducing. If the SLR is decreasing, that means the money supply is increasing. And then we have the repo rate. Repo rate refers to the rate at which the RBI lends loan to bank. For example, if RBI is lending loan to bank at a higher rate, then there will be less money supply. If the RBI is lending the loan with a lower interest rate, then there will be more money supply. Like in the case of reverse repo rate, RBI will give more interest on bank's loan. For example, if RBI is giving an interest of 4% on bank's loan, then if they are increasing the interest to 6%, then the bank will give more loan to RBI. Therefore, here also the money supply can be reduced. And these efforts or these steps are also known as expansionary policy in an economy. During the time of deflation, the RBI will go for reverse policy, that is, they will go for contractionary policy. And then we have open market operations, where the RBI sells or purchases securities to control the liquidity or the money supply in an economy. Then we have moral suasion, where the banks will be persuaded to adopt credit control measures. Coming to the certain social welfare initiatives, what is the importance of studying social welfare initiatives in inflation? Because we know that in India we have different people with a different socio-economic background. So if sudden inflation during the time of pandemic in India, nearly 10 million people were pushed below poverty line. So we have to consider every section in the society in case of an emergency. So for that, to protect the people from inflationary from economic instability, the government has taken certain steps. The first is National Food Security Act 2013, and this National Food Security Act recognizes the food as a right, not as a need, rather than food as a right. Therefore, under this National Security Act, we will provide subsidized food grains to vulnerable population. And presently, it has a coverage of 75% in the rural area and 50% in the urban area. Then we have Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, which provides subsidized LPG connection to households. Then we have MGNREGA, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, which will be providing 100 days employment, particularly to the rural people, to ensure they are getting enough income and they can meet their basic needs. So for example, once you enroll to the MGNREGA, you can enroll to MGNREGA through your local self-government, and you have to work for 100 days and you will be getting around 15,000 rupees. And direct benefit transfer. So we have many subsidy schemes, incentives, and many pension schemes. So through the bank accounts, we will ensure that these benefits are directly reaching the vulnerable communities, that includes people from the backward society and old age people. And then we have public distribution system, which will be distributing essential commodities to everyone at a subsidized rate. For example, you can get 1 kg, you will be getting 10 kg of white rice for 2 rupees, and in different state they have different price, but the price will be very less. That will be providing food security. At the same time, it is an effective step to ensure the equitable access in food to everyone in the society. So in this topic we discussed inflation and how inflation can create problems in an economy, and what are the steps that we have at present day to protect the people against inflation or other economic instability. And then we also discussed the different instruments that we have to protect the economy from inflation. So based on our understanding, try to answer this mains practice question. The question is, discuss the types of inflation, the current inflationary trend, and measures taken to control the inflation. Suggest the social welfare initiatives to shield the vulnerable sections from inflationary shocks. So this question has two major parts. In the first part, you have to address different type of inflation, current inflationary trend, and measures taken to control the inflation. So in the first part, you can talk about different type of inflation. For example, demand pull inflation, push cost inflation. You can talk about the inflation that caused due to high price of imported commodities, and you can also talk about the recent inflation trend like the shrinkflation and stagflation. And in the second area, you have to address about the current inflationary trend. For example, you have to address about the the inflationary disparities between the states, between the communities, and how it is impacting if possible. And then you have to address about the measures taken to control the inflation. There you can talk about the various schemes, not only the instruments that are used for controlling inflation. For example, you can talk about the instruments too, but at the same time you can also talk about various acts. For example, we have an important act called Foreign Exchange Management Act. This came to power in the year 2003, I think. So this act is focusing on ensuring long-term stability for Indian economy. So you can address these kind of acts, or if you know other act, you can mention that also. And the second major part, you have to talk about various social welfare initiatives that the government has taken. For that, you can mention about the National Food Security Act, and you can talk about the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, MG Narega. You can also talk about various pension schemes. For example, we have a Poshan Abhiyan, various pension schemes, and you can also talk about health related schemes like a Poshan Abhiyan, and these kind of initiatives, social welfare initiatives, you can address in the second major area. So try to answer this mains practice question based on our understanding, and post it in the comment section. With this, we are coming to the conclusion for today's new editorial analysis. If you like the video, hit the like button, give your feedbacks as comments, and share this content with your friends. And before leaving this channel, don't forget to subscribe and also hit the bell icon to receive on-time update from Shankar IAS Academy. Thank you. Have a nice day.